Hey everybody, welcome back to When Harry Met Board Games, where we feed our people with relatable content and our victory condition is your satisfaction. I'm Harry, and today we'll be doing another board game review. Today I'll be reviewing this tiny box game right here called Money, designed by Reiner Knizia, and this edition at least is published by Eagle Gryphon Games. I'm going to set the game up, show you a few details as to how the game is played, and then we'll get back to my final thoughts and grades. So this is what the game looks like set up for 3 players. Keep in mind, as most auction bidding games go, this game requires a minimum player count of 3. We shuffle the deck of the different currency cards. And by the way, there are 7 different currencies in this game. And I believe there's 10s, 20s, 30s, 40s, and maybe even $50 bills. For each of the 7 currencies. We shuffle the deck, we deal each player a hand of 6 cards, plus we give each of the players one of these banknotes cards, which is really just a bluff card that they can include with their auction, or even just auction it as a bluff all by itself. So that's what this banknote is. So each player gets those 6 cards, starting hand plus the banknote, and then we make 2 offers on each of the sides of the deck, consisting of 4 cards each, drawn randomly from the top of the deck. Now, the first thing that's going to happen is the players are going to bid for turn order, and you can mix and match any of the different currencies. Oh, the currencies actually go up to 60. So you can mix and match each of the different types of currencies. And the goal of this game is to have as many cards from as few sets as possible, right? You don't want to have too many different currencies, because then you're gonna have those currencies watered down. You want to have maybe 2 different currencies and just have lots and lots of cards within those currencies. So you're going to be looking for sets that might have a lot of 1. So for example, this looks very valuable because it already has 3 cards from within the same currency. So let's look at this player here. This player already has 1 from here. So now you can bid from the cards that you have in your hand. So this player here, for example, he's going to bid, let's say he's going to bid 60, but he's going to throw in his banknote to give the impression that he's bidding even more, right? Because players are all placing their bids face down. So this player also happens to have one of these Chinese coins, which is worth 10. It's not a currency, so it doesn't work for you, but it also doesn't work against you, because if you have any currency that you have less than 200 total value for, is actually going to cost you negative 100 points. So you don't want to have currencies that you have few of, right? So this guy, these are very valuable because he already has 2 of these cards in that currency. So he's going to go all out. He doesn't know what the other person has bid. This is all taking place simultaneously. So he's going to put the 30, and here he's going to put this 50, and he's going to just throw in this 10 to make it 60, plus the banknote. Okay. And then finally, this player here, that's not as valuable to him because he doesn't have any. He doesn't have any of these here either, but he does have one of these. He is going to bid towards that. But he's going to keep it low because he doesn't want to risk anything. So he's just going to bid this $20 bill, the actual dollars, from the US dollars, plus his banknote. And now, players, after every player has made their bid, we reveal simultaneously, and we compare the bids. And again, this is going to determine turn order. So this player here has bid 60. This player here, oh, that's the wrong amount of cards. Sorry, it's right here. This player here also bid 60, and this player here bid 20. Now what happens is when 2 players have bid the same exact amount, You look for the card, because all of these currencies have a serial number on the bottom that starts with the word or the name Fred and then a 3-digit number. Whoever has the lowest serial number among the cards they bid, the tie breaks in their favor. So in this case, this currency here says Fred 19. So that's the lowest number that this player has bid. And this player here, their lowest number is Fred 01. So the tie is going to break in favor of this player. And now what happens is this player can exchange the cards that he or she bid for either one of the two offers on opposite sides of the deck, or for either one of the bids that are still in front of the players. So that is really, really cool. So in other words, if I had my eyes on this, but all of a sudden a player made a bid that caught my interest even more, I could steer in that direction. However, we're just going to keep things the same. We're going to draft these 4 cards. And then what happens is you replace that offer with the bid that you had just made. So now this player has added these cards to their hand. And as you can see, he has tons of cards within this denomination or this currency already. Now we go to the player with the second highest bid, which would be this player here. This player keeps his banknote, by the way. And now he has a choice to make. And he lost what he was going for primarily, but he will settle for this as well because he does have 2 of these cards right here. So he will trade in this for these 4 cards. And now he's not doing too bad either because he's got 4 of these currency cards here. And now this player who is last is kind of in a bind. None of these situations are amazing, but you know what? He only bid $20 to begin with. So he'll exchange those $20 and grab this one, and at least he'll have a third of this currency. Now, if a player for any reason chooses that they're not interested in anything they see or they don't have money to spare like that, you could always bid your banknote as the single card, just a complete bluff, reveal it, and it means that you bid nothing. It also means that for that turn, you're not going to participate in the exchange or the draft of the cards. So that's something to keep in mind. Now, at the end of each round, players will replenish this sides of the deck of the offers with the cards that are missing, and then they will continue playing this game out. So this is pretty much how the game is played. You keep on playing until the end of the game. When the draw pile is used up, that will be the final round. If for whatever reason there's not enough cards in the deck to completely fill up one of the offers, then you just leave it as is, and that indicates the final round. And then players tally up their points and see who's the winner. And basically the way the scoring works is you tally up all your points in each denomination. For every denomination in which you fail to have at least 200 value worth of money cards, you're going to subtract 100 points from your score. And then, but the ones that you do happen to have more than 200 value of, then you will retain the 200 as your points, or your 200 plus as your points. Plus, you will get an additional 100 points for each triplet. That is, each identical denomination of within a currency that you have 3 of. So, for example, 3 20s, 3 10s, 3 30s. I believe the lower numbers are the only ones that have triplets. The 40s, 50s, and 60s do not have 3 of a kind within the number. And basically, the most you can get within one denomination, the perfect score you can get within one denomination, is 500 points. So that's pretty much it. This is how the game gets played. Now let's hear what my final thoughts and grades are. So that is how you play money. As you can see, it's pretty simple, pretty easy. This is absolutely a filler game. I'd say the games on average last about 20 minutes. Sometimes if the players are more experienced and process the information quickly enough, you could probably, get this game done in under 20 minutes. Now, let's go to my grades. First, let's talk about components. I'm going to give this a B. Here's the reason why. The card stock is just fine. I mean, the components in and of themselves are just cards. As a matter of fact, the rule book, there is no such thing. The rules are just 5 cards in the same exact shape and size of the rest of the cards that have the rules on back and front. They chose for the graphic design to take actual real world currencies. So you have yen and you have dollars and you have all these different, global currencies, which I actually would have preferred for fictitious currency, just to give an opportunity to have some unique and cool artwork on the table instead of just, realistic depictions of these real world currencies. So because of that, I'm giving it just a B. I'm not going to give it an A, but there's not necessarily so much negative you could say about these components. There's just not much to say, period. It's a small box. There's not much to be said. Now let's move on to theme. I'm actually going to give this a B for theme. And the reason why is because this is a game about exchanging money, exchanging, currencies at a global level. And it feels realistic that to some extent, on some turns, you might be spending more money to exchange than what you're getting back, but the currency that you're getting back is more valuable to you for whatever your business ventures or your business investments might be, right? So I look at that, I'm like, you know what? That seems a little bit realistic. Again, I'm being very generous considering, Reiner Knizia and his track record as far as thematic integration of games. So again, I'm being very relatively, merciful as I give this another grade of B. So far we got a B for components and a B for theme. Now we're going to move on to gameplay. And for gameplay, I'm going to give it an A. I mean, it's a very light and simple game. So there's not too many rules. I would say that the most complicated thing is that there's a little bit of math, but even so, the math is pretty basic. It's just basic arithmetic, addition and subtraction. You don't make it to a certain threshold, you're going to subtract some points. Otherwise, all you're doing is adding. And the most a given currency can give you is 500 points. And there's no small little numbers, right? So you're not going to have something like 424 points. No, you're going to have multiples of 10 because all the currencies, the lowest value currency, is 10. You have the I think it's the Chinese coin or what have you that's worth 10. Like there's nothing there that is less than 10. So again, you're gonna have multiples of 10. It's gonna be clean, easy math, simple. But I like the gameplay. It's fun. It's fun to math out your auction. When is it worth bidding a little bit more because what's on the table is valuable to you. Also, when is it worth risking bidding a little bit even though you don't see nothing on the table? Because you could always just take your card back. So it's not really that much of a risk. Whereas I see very few situations where you wouldn't want to bid at all unless you're afraid of one of your opponents snatching up your bid. But other than that, I see hardly any other situation in which that would be the problem. Because, at the end of the day, you could always maybe exchange for something that's not there at the beginning of the round, but once the earlier players in the turn order make their exchanges, now what's there available, while it might be less cards, it actually might be more valuable cards to you. So it might have been worth just throwing down $10, and all you got to do is give up a $10 in a currency you don't care about to snatch up a couple cards that you do care about. So I think it's fun. I think it's cool. So now let's talk about novelty factor. And I'm going to give this another A for novelty factor just because it feels different. I can't really think off the top of my head of any other card drafting games because you have an auction, but the auction is really just return order. It's really card drafting. And the card drafting is an exchange. You exchange the cards that you bid for the cards that you want to draft. And they're not necessarily the equal amounts of cards, but, more often than not, they will be. But I think that's cool. I think that's neat. And also, the only other game that I could think about where you're bidding a certain currency of sorts, and when you make that bid and you win whatever it is you win, you exchange it for another currency. The only other game I could think of was a game designed by Reiner Knizia the same year as he produced Money, which is Ra, where you have tiles, numbered tiles, which are your currencies, and when you win an auction, you exchange that numbered tile for a numbered tile that was available or up for grabs along with everything else. So I think that that part is cool. Just the idea of bidding for a turn order, you know, the way the turn order works, I think that's cool. But also just the fact that when you're drafting, what was bidded, since everything in the game is these cards, these currency cards, what was bidded by other players, the bids of other players are up for grabs too. So you can make a last minute decision, change your mind, and say, I don't want one of the two, you know, available, you know, piles on the communal, you know, trade row. Instead, I want to grab something that the other player bid or one of the other players bid because that suits my interests more right now. So I think that part is cool. So again, novelty factor, I'm going to give it a solid A. And then my overall grade, I'm going to say overall, I will give this an A. And here's the thing. This game, you know, you might be like, well, man, you're giving this game an A. It must rank very, very high on your list of games. But here's the thing. I'm trying to be objective and grade it for what it is. It's a light filler game. And I do tend to gravitate not necessarily to heavier games, but I do tend to gravitate to longer games. Really, the issue sometimes for me with fillers is how short they are. I think they're very optimal for certain situations when you don't have a lot of time or when you're tired or what have you. You know, it's an icebreaker early in the game night or late in the game night, but they're absolutely not the main event. And as such, they don't rank relatively high. I might have a few fillers in my top 100. I don't really think I have any fillers per se in my top 50. I have some games that I call quasi fillers because, you know, they take about 30 to 40 minutes, sometimes pushing the 45-minute threshold. And for me, they're like almost like fillers, but again, they feel meatier and weightier and all that stuff. But games that play like 20 minutes or so, I don't think I have any in my top 50. So they do rank on a separate echelon for me. But for what they are and for what the designer's purpose and objective is in making these type of games, I had to give this game an A. It is solid. It gets the job done. You know, it's a fun filler if you like auction bidding mechanisms, if you like the concept of money and currency and so on and so forth. You do feel rich and wealthy at the end of the game, especially if you played well. So that is it for my review of Money, designed by Reiner Knizia. Comment down below. Tell me what your thoughts are based on what you saw. Perhaps you're one of the few people in this world who've actually played this game. All right, well, this is Harry from When Harry Met Board Games saying take care, everybody. Stay safe, stay healthy, and have fun gaming. Bye-bye.